After spending some time with it, I thought it might be helpful to share what I have noticed so far, because this is one of those pool tools that either fits your routine really well, or it just becomes another thing you fight with. I have been running it in my own in-ground pool, connected to my pool pump, and I have a pretty clear sense of what it does well, what it does not do, and what kind of person it makes sense for. At a basic level, this is a suction-side pool cleaner. It does not have its own motor. It uses suction from your existing pool pump to pull itself along and to pull debris through the hose and into your pool filtration system. So it is meant for someone who already has a working pump and filtration setup, and who wants an automatic way to keep the floor clean day to day without dragging out a manual vacuum pull all the time. If you are the type of person who does not mind doing quick touch-ups but hates the constant baseline maintenance, this is aimed right at that problem. What makes it feel different from some of the simpler suction cleaners I have used is the way it moves and the way it keeps contact with the surface. The bottom has a rotating brush that keeps scrubbing as it travels. In real use, that matters because it is not just sliding over fine dirt. It is agitating it so the suction can actually pick it up. I noticed that especially with the dusty film that collects after a windy day, and with that gritty stuff that settles in low spots. It also helps the cleaner keep traction when it changes direction. Instead of stalling out and doing that awkward shuffle in place, it tends to correct itself and keep going. The build is mostly plastic, which is exactly what I expected for something that lives in pool water all the time. It feels solid enough in the hand, not flimsy, and the moving parts do not feel like they are about to snap if you bump it on a step. The hose sections feel like typical pool vacuum hose, stiff enough to hold shape but still flexible. In my case, once I had the hose length dialed in, it stayed consistent. I do recommend taking the time to get that length right, because too much hose in the pool can make it wander weirdly, and too little hose can keep it from reaching the deep end properly. Setup in practice was not complicated, but it is not something I would rush. You connect the hose sections, prime the hose to get the air out, and hook it into the suction side connection. Depending on your pool, that might be a dedicated suction port, or it might be through the skimmer. I run it off my pump on a regular schedule, and most days I just leave the cleaner in the water. The only time I pull it out is when people are coming over and I want the pool completely clear. Otherwise, it just lives there and does its thing. Day-to-day use is basically hands-off once it is behaving correctly. I check the pump basket and the skimmer basket like I normally would, because everything it picks up is going into the filtration system. That is one of the trade-offs with suction-side cleaners. You are not emptying a bag on the cleaner itself. You are relying on your normal pool filtration. For me, that is fine, but it does mean if you have a lot of leaves or a lot of big debris, you are going to be cleaning baskets more often. If your filter is already running near its limit, you will feel that. In my pool, it is mostly dirt, sand, and small debris, so it works out. In real-world cleaning, the thing I paid the most attention to was coverage. Some cleaners look like they are moving a lot, but they are really just doing the same path again and again. With the Zodiac, I have watched it long enough to see it work its way around in a way that feels natural. It will clean the open floor, then it will angle toward the perimeter, then it will wander back across. It is not perfectly methodical like a robot vacuum map in a living room, but for a suction cleaner, it covers the pool better than I expected. The other big question is whether it can climb. In my pool, it does climb the walls. Not every single run, and not every section every time, but it does get up there and scrub. When it starts to climb, you can see the brush still spinning and working. It is not just bumping into the wall and sliding back down. It will actually hang there for a moment, then move sideways a bit, then come down and head off again. Over time, that wall contact adds up, and I have noticed less buildup around the waterline compared to when I was only vacuuming the floor. Stairs are usually where cleaners get awkward, and I paid attention to that because my pool has a set of steps that loves to collect debris. The MX6 does manage to get onto the steps. It does not climb them like a person would, step by step every time, but it will ride up onto a step, scrub, and sometimes it will work across the step before dropping off and circling back later. If your steps are a major trouble spot, You might still do occasional manual touch-ups, but it is not ignoring the stairs completely, which is more than I can say for some cleaners I have tried. Run time is going to depend on your pool size and how dirty it is. In my case, I have let it run for a couple of hours when the pool just needed routine cleaning, and I have left it longer after storms. The point is not that it finishes at an exact time. The point is that if it is moving well and your suction is set correctly, it keeps making progress the whole time it is in there. One thing I do want to be clear about is what you do not get. There is no mobile app here. There is no phone control. There is no scheduling inside the cleaner itself. Everything is tied to your pump schedule and your pool system. For me, that is totally fine. I would rather have a simple tool that is predictable than add another app to babysit. But if you are expecting to control it from your phone, this is not that type of product. I also want to mention a couple of practical limitations I ran into. Like any suction side cleaner, performance depends a lot on having the suction set right. If you have weak suction, clogged baskets, or an air leak in the hose, it will slow down or it will move in a lazy way and miss spots. When it is not cleaning well, it is usually not the cleaner itself. It is the system feeding it. The other thing is that it can occasionally get into patterns where it favors one area of the pool for a while. When I see that happening, I will reposition it or check the hose routing, and it usually corrects. It is not something I have to do often, but it is part of living with a suction cleaner. Overall, my impression is that this is a practical solution for keeping an in-ground pool consistently clean without thinking about it every day. It has been reliable for me. It picks up the everyday stuff that makes a pool look dull, and it reduces how often I feel like I need to manually vacuum. It is not a magic tool, and it does not replace basic pool care, but it does take a repetitive chore off my plate. You can view detailed information about the Zodiac MX6 automatic suction side pool cleaner vacuum in the comments section. Thank you for watching.